So this friend of mine dropped off this big block, and it was, I don't know, 35 inches by 24 inches by 12 inches. I was pretty excited. So he told me where he got this stone. He said that, there's a building being torn down downtown. You ought to go down and grab some, And so I jumped in my van, grabbed a buddy, and we drove downtown and went to the site and saw a bunch of stone blocks laying on the ground. And we start picking up these blocks and loading them into the minivan when a guy walks up and says, "What are you kids doing?" I look at him and I say, "Yeah, I'm just picking up these stones and I'm going to take them home and carve them." And he looked at me and decided, all right, I didn't see you. And so that was how I got into my first batch of stone. So these, the images in this slide, these are all pieces from that rubble pile. These are all pieces of stone that came from that building that was torn down. Now, the reason I wanted to focus on this building is because this building was a significant landmark in downtown St. Louis. And in the years leading up to 2004, there was a substantial effort to save this building as an incredible landmark. It was built in the late 1890s. It was a classical revival style building, and it was considered an architectural gem. It was on the historical landmarks do not knock down list. But through dirty deeds, the building was knocked down. And the intention was to put a parking garage in its place. And there's a controversy around that. They didn't need a parking place right there, in my opinion, and many people's opinion. There's a space right at catty corner where they could have built a parking lot. So it's unclear to me, and it's unclear to a lot of people, why this particular building was knocked down. And it was a lamentable occurrence, right? This building did not need to get knocked down. It was, but it's symptomatic of what's happening, I think, in our culture. This building, again, being built in the late 1800s, had this design built on classical ideals, senses of aesthetics. And, through what happens in a lot of our inner cities, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, for that matter, there was white flight, and many of the people who were occupying that space in that downtown area moved out to the suburbs. And so the whole area became neglected, and the building, I'm sure, deteriorated past its useful life, so that in 2004, the cost to revitalize this building was so great that somebody determined that it was better to just knock it down and start fresh. That's a very common story, certainly in these beautiful old cities like St. Louis. But it's a tragic story, and I think it's lamentable that it got neglected in the first place, and then got to be so obsolete and disfavored that it was knocked down. And I think that's emblematic for where we are as a culture. I think that's happening not just in that particular building, but I think that's happening across our culture. There's a sort of iconoclasm of these old buildings. So I see myself as an artist working in the 21st century, going to these rubble piles and pulling out the stones, the building blocks that I think have some intrinsic value, taking them home, working with them, and representing them to the public with an image that I think is valuable.